Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Bastien Tosset, Vice President, Global Small Business Segment, and Nikesh Nair, Director of Small Business, Cisco Australia and New Zealand.
Thank you, and good morning. A very warm welcome to the Innovation Talk for Small Business. It is a pleasure to have all of you here in the room, and also a very warm welcome for everybody who's joining us over the live stream. I'm here together with my buddy Nikesh.
Welcome, Bastien. Welcome to Melbourne.
Thank you. Always good to be here, and particularly at Cisco Live. Lots of exciting things happening this week. What we wanted to do over the next 25 minutes or so is talk a little bit about what we are doing in small business. And we won't have too many slides, but what we will do is show you what we think is happening after some of the research we've done, what specifically we have done at Cisco to actually cater for small businesses to help them transition to a digitalized era. And also we'll have, obviously, examples of what it means for customers.
Exactly. Specific use cases relating to small business.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you've just seen JAR Aerospace in the opening video. And I think it is a real good example of a company that has taken on and embraced technology to progress their own business. So JAR is in the business of unmanned aerial vehicles. Basically, those are drones, yeah? And they do a lot of work with defense.
Yes.
They also have commercial customers, right, that are obviously non-defense. But clearly, they do a lot of design, individual design, and they also produce these drones for their customers. And interestingly enough, they actually won a contest that we ran in Australia last year, which we called the SMB IT Makeover. You want to talk about that a bit?
Yes. It was an innovation challenge, and we had enormous response. We had over 60 entries from highly innovative companies. And what was interesting was all these companies were at the forefront of innovation. And when we looked at the landscape, we thought these companies are going to shape the future of digital economy in Australia. And another key observation we had when we looked through the entries was most of these businesses form an important part of their industry ecosystem, industry supply chain. So it was no more, it was extremely important for them to constantly innovate and stay ahead of the curve so that as their industry grew and as their industry scaled, they also grew with them. So innovation was absolutely at the forefront of discussion, and clearly JAR Aerospace won it hands down. And you can see they need to innovate constantly to stay ahead in the defense industry.
Right. And what that specific SME IT Makeover does is we actually ask companies to submit proposals how technology is going to help them transform their business from a startup to a small business or to the next phase of their development. And linking to that, what we did over the last few months is we ran a survey across 1,340 SMBs and partners, the real experts on SMB, and we called it the APAC SME Digital Maturity Index. We asked IDC to help us with this, and really interesting findings that 61% of the respondents across the 14 countries that we surveyed them in, all across Asia Pacific, actually already have started their journey to a digitalized environment. They've started to move to the cloud. They've moved applications there. And that's obviously really encouraging, right? Because SMBs form the backbone of many economies. They employ the majority of the workforce. And obviously, they are really important from an innovation perspective as well. However, we do see that 39% is not really thinking about it yet because they haven't started it, which obviously is a concern.
Yeah, and the 61% that are thinking about it in a siloed way.
Yes.
The investments, we found through our research that the investments are extremely siloed, and it's very reactive, just keeping survival in mind rather than transformation.
Right. And if you dig a little bit deeper into why they're moving to a digitalized environment, an astonishing amount of 43% is actually doing it because they need to survive. They have no choice. Because of the cost of operations are escalating, or because new applications need to become to actually serve their customers better. So that's actually a pretty high number. The reactive number is also pretty high.
Yes.
Yeah. So We do see, basically as a conclusion, ICASH, that small businesses need a lot of help in the journey. How do they actually move from where they are today into a more digitalized environment? And what technology partner is going to help them with it?
Yes, and it is imperative, it is absolutely imperative, looking at JAR Aerospace as an example, that we as an industry help them adopt simple, secure digital technologies at scale so that they can constantly stay ahead of the curve and ahead of competition.
Right. Because there's also even a wait and see area, right? And despite all of the messaging and all of the government support that's being out there, we still have a lot of work to do.
Yes.
So specifically what we have done at Cisco is look at building a small business purpose-built portfolio. And you will have seen the Cisco Start portfolio before, hopefully. If not, this is basically our solutions offering that we offer and provide to small businesses. You mentioned smart, simple, and secure.
Yes.
That's obviously underpinning everything we do with our Cisco Start portfolio. But the important thing in this particular portfolio is that it's enterprise-grade quality, specifically built for SMB, so it's not a downsized version of an enterprise product. It's actually purpose-built. And more importantly, it works better together.
Correct. And we are constantly evolving the portfolio. We're gaining feedback, we're gaining insights from our customers, we're gaining critical insights from our ecosystem of partners, and we are on a journey of constant evolution of the portfolio so that it matches what the small businesses need, it aligns with their transformation needs, but more importantly, it also captures the future transitions as we see in the marketplace.
Absolutely. And they mentioned it in the beginning, the guys from JAR, right? Instead of having a point product approach, which is extremely difficult to manage, right? Particularly if you do not have any dedicated IT staff, the whole setup of this portfolio is how we actually make it work better together, how do we make it easier, and how do we actually address the needs that SMBs really have. And to make that even more consumable, I would say, we've looked at, based on the input that we got from the SMB Digital Maturity Index, what are some of the packages that we could pre-build for our small business customers. Mm-hmm. You see here on your left-hand side a sample stack, which is really catering for the needs of SMBs that are in, I just want to continue my business mode.
Yeah.
It's more easy to consume. It's a little bit less IT evolved, but it is really a basic, very, very solid proposal for small businesses that just want to continue to run their business.
Right solution at the right price.
Exactly, exactly. Then you see on the right-hand side is tailored a little bit more to companies that actually have technology at a very important part of their businesses, or it is even at the core of their business, right? Because technology is the differentiation in how they actually serve their customers, and there's lots and lots of disruptors that are coming up in the market. So by force of disruption, technology for them will play an even more important role in how they actually use it and adopt it to better serve their customers.
Yeah, technology becomes the point on which they innovate and stay ahead.
Right, yeah, absolutely. And a very specific example of what we have built in the portfolio, just to make it real. We have built Find IT as a vehicle for our small businesses to really help them manage their networks in a faster way, in an easier way, and without the need for a lot of skill sets that you would typically need to actually set up a network infrastructure.
Yeah, what's intuitive about this tool is as the small businesses scale, say as an example, they add another site, they acquire another business, and their needs evolve, it helps them deploy and manage all their IT assets through a single interface, through a single window, so that a non-IT professional can also do it in a simple, easy way and manage all their assets securely.
Yeah, and it's not just limited to Cisco. just so we're clear, right? Many times we have this a little bit singular focus on our own solutions, but we acknowledge and obviously see that there's different areas that small businesses need that we are not catering for. Not yet, maybe we will in the future, but it also actually detects automatically devices that are not Cisco, which is really important. Again, it really is a key time saver if you keep it simplistic in terms of what it does, and it's embedded in all of the portfolio that we just showed. So it's really, really exciting. And then we talked about moving to the cloud.
Everyone wants to move to the
cloud.
cloud.
And how small businesses move to the cloud. Moving to the cloud is not easy.
It is not.
If you don't know exactly what it means. And there's lots and lots of offers out there. So what we built, with the help of our friends in data center, also part of our Cisco Start portfolio, is HyperFlex.
Yeah, we all know applications are really the lifeline of any small business.
Absolutely.
Then you add data to it. All their customer data repositories also becomes the lifeline of their business. So you have applications and you've got data. What Cisco has done with this system, I'll call it a system, Bastian.
Yeah.
We have enabled our customers to manage their applications and their data on one single platform. Again, it talks to the scalability aspect. So as the business grows, they add more employees, they acquire more customers, their applications and their data is on one platform, one system, and on one network, managed through one single window. So it makes it easier for customers to have a cloud-like environment. It makes it economical for them to consume, and it makes them scalable. Like we are providing a cloud-like variable through this system. And it's called HyperFlex.
Yep. And it's working well. We're doing very well on it. We'd like to do better. So please check out our HyperFlex, as well as our Fine IT solutions here in the World of Solutions.
And Bastian, can I interject and give a use case?
You can do whatever you want, Nikesh.
Thank you. We have a customer called Mounties. They're a membership organization, typically run clubs and pubs. Right? There are 100,000 members. Imagine 100,000 members.
It's a lot.
Data is critical. So they had the data storage needs, plus they were building new applications to improve customer experience. Through HyperFlex, as they added more and more members, as they wanted to enhance customer experience, the system allowed them to do that. The system allowed them to expand as they grew. And that's a typical casing point, right? There was 20% savings in operational expense alone. 20%, and 20% increase in operational efficiency as well. So that's a typical use case of where we see a small business grow as they scale out into other markets.
That's excellent. That's a really good use case, Nikesh. The other thing that I picked up in a recent presentation about HyperFlex was an analogy. Simple analogy about why this is working better versus what other, let's call them industry peers, offer and guarantee the same performance. Product by product, right? Obviously, there's always a comparison. But how it all works together is where the things start to change.
True.
And what we see with particularly HyperFlex, for example, is it is co-designed with the other engineering units, in this case, the enterprise networking unit, and they actually embed the functionality that it actually continues to perform even if you add HyperFlex into your environment. And let me give you the analogy that really brought it home with me. It's a very simple analogy, because I like simple things. So when you, at home, you wake up, everybody wakes up in the morning, right? And,
I tend to.
Somebody takes a shower, and then somebody else needs a cup of tea.
Yeah.
So as soon as you start to take a cup of tea, you take the hot water on, quite often the hot water when you shower reduces, right? You go from a nice, comfortable shower to something not so comfortable anymore. That's actually what happens in the network when you run applications on an infrastructure which is based on point products. Mm-hmm. Because they are not co-designed and they are not optimized to work together. So when you actually switch on HyperFlex and implement it into your infrastructure, you will not have a drop in performance. your network will still continue to run, and you will not see that negative effect that you would see if you don't have it co-designed together. Make sense?
It makes sense. And what about security, Bastian? I mean, security is also embedded. You know, your customer data is on this platform. Your applications that you use internally and expose externally to your customers are also on this platform. So it's imperative that we weave security into the platform, which is what working together means, right? So you've got the network components, you've got the compute components, and also storage and security perfectly blended into a system.
Absolutely, and security is top of mind of every small business. It is top of mind of pretty much every customer. But it is a bit of a misconception that SMBs and small businesses are less vulnerable to security. They're actually more vulnerable because the impact that it has on their business when the business is disrupted is much more significant for them to actually continue their business operations. So that's a bit on HyperFlex. The other thing that we see happening obviously here is once you started to work on connectivity and security and compute power, the next step very often is looking at what you do from a collaboration perspective.
Correct, because work or activity is not a place you go to. Right. It's what you do. And how can you collaborate? How can you communicate with your customers and your employees and your ecosystem really well?
Yes.
That gives you a competitive advantage as you grow into a significant large business from being a small business.
Yeah. And again, it's another building block that we have added into our portfolio, and it's really, really powerful for companies as they grow, because there's different stages that we see of SMBs, right? You go from a startup to a more mature business. You need agility in terms of fast growth and sometimes a bit of a slower period. So it's really important that you adapt to that. And I think with our collaboration portfolio, we are really able to do that, particularly through some of our WebEx solutions. We obviously have the RoomKit Mini, which again, you can see here in the World of Solutions as well at Cisco Live in Melbourne. There's a lot of exciting development coming out of collaboration from a SaaS perspective as well.
You hit the nail on the head, SaaS. So for small businesses, it's important that they pay as they grow. They consume as they like. And our entire collaboration suite, whether you want to make a simple phone call to your customer, whether you want to interact amongst yourselves as employees, simple phone call, which we call WebEx calling, is SaaS-based. It's per user per month. Then you move on, add video on top, as Bas mentioned. Again, it's SaaS-based, per user per month or per device per month. So we've made the portfolio flexible as the small businesses evolve their communication needs and their interaction needs, they can grow with the portfolio.
Absolutely. I'm going to give an example of a company that we've been featuring for last year as well, and when we had our first small business forum here at Cisco Live. It's a company called Orange Sky. Who's heard of them? Orange Sky here in the room? Well, they're here. So it's great to experience the van. It's the van with the washing machines. It's the orange van. If you haven't seen it yet, it's right outside of the plenary. And it's a really interesting story building on what you just said. And the reason is, if you look at how the company has grown from being launched in Brisbane by two guys with one van that is going to deliver laundry services to what they call the Friends of the Street. At a convention, they were talking about this story. Our general manager for Queensland, Michael Reed, was in the audience. He connected with them and said, listen, how can we help? Because I really like your story. They talked. They ended up on Meraki. So we had Meraki on wheels in a van that was actually helping to coordinate and optimize how they could be delivering the best possible service with the time and the capacity that they had. So that's how they scaled from one van to two vans to three vans all over Brisbane, coming out of one particular quarter. And then they actually branched out to Sydney. They branched out to Melbourne. They're now branching out into New Zealand. And guess what? They needed collaboration.
They need to talk?
Exactly, because within Brisbane, it's easier to talk.
Yes.
But once you add multiple sites, and this is very similar to what we see with small businesses that grow, you go from one to multiple locations, collaboration is a must.
But they also had to collaborate with their donors, with their other key stakeholders within their supply chain as well.
Absolutely. Plus, they're working together with another 50,000 nonprofit organizations across Australia, which is quite astonishing. So very pleased to have them here. And also, I think it really embodies what we're trying to do with our focus, particularly on small business. It is more than just providing technology. It is more than just making sure that they grow. We absolutely are also looking at how can we benefit the larger communities in the solutions that we provide to our small business. And hopefully that's given us an opportunity to provide you with insights into what we are doing. We're all here for the remainder of the week. There's a lot of solutions out there. I would like to show a quick video on Orange Sky before we close. If you can roll the video, please.
Orange Sky mission has very much evolved from just wanting to improve the hygiene standards of the homeless to positively connecting communities. I mean, it is such a central point of what we do, technology. Having a reliable, ongoing solution for every one of our vans enables us to do a much better job on the streets of Australia.
So this was a very short video, and it's a bit hard to understand the accent. We had that feedback, but it's quite specific. But it is an absolutely great story. You can watch all of it on Cisco.com. And again, the team of Orange Sky is present here at Cisco Live. They're just outside the plenary session. That's all for today that we had. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, NICADS, for being my partner on stage.
Thank you,
we truly hope you continue to work with us, provide us the feedback, and it will continue to drive innovation simple, smartly, and securely together with Cisco Start. Thank you so much.